13. And if we can do introductions. Chaz Rudich.
Joyce Gutierrez, member, Board of Directors.
Maggie Malley, Director.
Sandy Small.
Evelyn Mills.
Very good.
So you're receiving this now for next year, is that correct? For
Fiscal year is what?
For July?
Two
We are,
copies.
the expenditures, this format for the COA expenses
yeah,
is just the format that I think that we should shift to. This is
Yeah.
generated by the treasurer
okay.
collector. So I requested expenditures from July 1st, which is the beginning of fiscal 2019,
Right, okay.
through the 6th of December, which was last Thursday. So this has all of our bills. You can see in the shaded bars across the top, salary and wages, expenses, and the expenses list different accounts because the Council on Aging has several accounts. And this also lists deposits. October, you'll see I made a deposit to the Elder Emergency Fund, for example. On the last page, let's see, on Elder Emergency Fund shows up on page 3. It's the bottom shaded bar, expense, Elder Emergency Fund. There was a donation made. I just did that in October, for example. And on the last page, on page 4, you'll see wages, the first section of expenditures. Wages under the COA formula grant, that is the grant each Council on Aging receives, a dollar amount per senior. And Newbury utilizes the formula grant. One of the ways we utilize it is to pay for the wages for the outreach case manager. So what you're looking at are payroll periods. And the bottom expense under the COA formula grant was for space heaters. That was taken out of last year's appropriation, last year's formula grant. Formula grant has guidelines, what the money can be used for, what it can't. And if there's a question, Council on Aging can ask the State Executive Office of Elder Affairs, and you've met Emmett Schmarzau, and he'll give us the final word as to whether an expense is approved or not. So this is broken down by accounts. You can see in the shadow and the highlighted areas, there's an account number under each one of those. For each account, there is expense and revenue. Anyway, you may have these copies. Chaz just signed some bills and payroll submissions today.
We have minutes from the last meeting.
We do, from October 15th.
Yes.
Right, that's right, you're right there. Minutes from October 15th?
I didn't take them.
Okay.
All right. We'll
Looked into that, yes.
Perfect.
Who was supposed to be doing the notes then?
I'm gonna have to look back at my notes.
Maggie took them to the notes.
Notes. I have very basic notes. All right, I can type that up. Volunteer, we have had three volunteers who are actively engaged, new property tax volunteers who are actively engaged since we met last. And one volunteer has been doing data entry to bring our database up to speed.
That's with the new computer.
Yes, with the new computer, exactly. Entering seniors turning 60 within a particular calendar year. And once she brings the database up to speed, then she'll go through and begin maintenance, checking to see that it is up to date. Which, she can go by category to determine if the only way the database is updated at this point is if seniors self-identify. When we receive newsletters back from the mail, the bulk permit we also have a small account to receive mail back when it's unable to be delivered. That goes for the monthly birthday cards also. They come back to us for a variety of reasons. Some folks it's maybe a second home, so they're only here half of the year or part of the year. Or folks have moved. So we find out a lot of the time by receiving the mail back.
So how is she entering the information? Where is she getting the information from to enter?
She's getting the larger list from the town clerk, from the census, yeah.
Okay, so at some point we'll be able for us to have a list of all those turning 60 or 62 or whatever. Because I think I had asked for that a long time ago when I was wondering.
The town clerk can generate those
So the
lists.
town clerk rather than the council.
Right. Anyone turning 60, that's, the mission of the Council on Aging is residents 60 and above. So there had been a volunteer in previous years who kept the database up to date, but it's been a number of years since there has been someone doing that regularly. So we're fortunate to have this new volunteer, and she's making great strides in doing that. We've already increased the database by quite a bit.
Do you have a projected timeline of when she'll be completed with this phase of it?
She was hoping to I'm trying to think now what year that she wanted to complete. She's going back and reviewing 2015. She's already done 17, 18. I think she's doing 15 and 16. And then she'll go back to about 2011. And we reasonably believe the system was updated to that point, 2011. So it's ongoing, but it's current for 2017 and 18,
Okay.
which is great. And then she can take the one of Gail and the Council on Aging program coordinator reads obituaries, keeps up with that. So this volunteer can take that list that she generates monthly and go in and update. We can archive the database. The software program allows us to archive people who may be away temporarily, so that we can actually keep them in the database and they will show up depending on the type of report that we are looking to generate for transportation or meal delivery. And along with that, with volunteers, 2 weeks ago, I sent out 4 new applications for property tax volunteers. It's an interesting time of year for it, but it's great whenever anybody becomes aware of it. Program.
So you sent them out for approval, or is it a request?
They called in,
Okay.
and a couple spoke with me, a couple spoke with other Janitor Gail about what might be available in town. So then we sent out the application, and
Oh, I see.
we've only just received one back on Thursday, so and we'll see. We might be able to utilize people. I think the Council on Aging and the library at this point are the departments that have greater need for more people. You know, generally, as you know, it's the program is specific to 100 hours for an $1,100 tax credit. And some departments, like the Council on Aging and the library, have greater need for more than one volunteer. We have a somewhat new volunteer who's out today with the outreach case manager doing friendly visits. I think five visits today, which is great. Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah, and she's a retired nurse, so.
She's a retired
That's
nurse,
excellent.
so it's, yeah,
Yes.
it's wonderful. So she will be wonderfully utilized and is needed, so
Has she been
pleased
in
with it.
Newburgh for very long?
Quite a long time. She's definitely been in this area and has lived in Newbury for several years anyway, but has been in the greater Newbury
Yeah.
area, so very familiar. Yeah, she's a nice addition, and she will also be doing some reception work at the Council on Aging, which is
gosh,
terrific.
that's
Yeah,
Very good.
which is very nice. A couple of the other new volunteers have done some work for other town departments, the election process.
Mhm.
Some helped with elections, some helped at least one helped with town meeting. So that's been nice to, a property tax volunteer can certainly do work for more than one department to get the 100 hours.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Am I interrupting?
No, go right ahead.
I found this very interesting. This was, we were looking for what duties are, but that lays out the duties of us and Charles. And I think it might even have something to do
Mhm.
with the direction
Mhm.
of
Right.
everything. So I did find that.
This is good. It lays it out quite clearly.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'll make a copy of this also. Rules for survival, I like that.
I don't know if that was something I found in older papers. Do you have that?
Is this it?
The board matrix?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of the presentation from Emmett was tongue in cheek.
Yes.
He was very concerned that if we're going to build a new one, be sure it's large enough. That's the message I got loud and clear.
Like we're near that.
Yes, like we need that, yeah. But loud and clear.
Not there, but yeah, I understand that, with hearing about some other towns, that perhaps, renovations it was what they could get. It was what
Right.
was able to be approved,
Right.
but wasn't enough,
Right.
to look at a 15-year, 10 or 15-year, or 20-year, looking at the projections of senior population numbers to satisfy the need I mean, I think the
Well, the thing is, the senior population is just growing and growing, so the facilities need to take
Exactly.
that in mind.
exactly.
What is Emmett do with you on a daily basis? Do you have to get any approvals?
Not on a daily basis. He's the liaison to the councils on aging
Yeah,
for the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. And we have a number of different, branches that deal with different things under Elder Affairs, but he's the liaison specifically to councils on aging. So he communicates and coordinates with Massachusetts Councils on Aging, which is kind of it's a board we pay membership to belong to the Massachusetts Councils on Aging. They are an advocate, an advisory council of sorts. Questions that we might have about starting something new, looking at what's involved with looking toward changing or updating or a new senior center down the road. Massachusetts Councils on Aging will put that out to the membership and say, what is your experience? In conjunction with Emmett at the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, gathering all of their experience with towns who have come before with any number of different questions or issues. It's helpful. Emmett will often send out a question. Today's question was, and it's not every day, but today's question was, and someone of the 300 and how many are there? 30 councils on aging in the state. Who someone must have asked the question, so it came up. What percentage of guests to your senior center don't register? Do not register. How many guests are not accounted for? And as Chaz and I were discussing, ours is virtually zero because we have a locked door, so we have to let people in.
right.
If they happen to come through the school, they're still escorted. They still have to be let in. So, because we don't have an open door, and our space is small, nobody gets by without notice. So, but in the much larger senior centers, some of our neighbors, certainly the cities, Lawrence, Lowell, they have a lot of drop-in activity. They utilize the same software program that we do, but also has function for a small kiosk where each guest has a little key tag like you do for a grocery store, like Stop and Shop or Shaw's or pharmacy, where you can just scan your card and the card knows, oh, it's Maggie Malley, number 12345, and sometimes I have it set up that I'm here for bridge, and you would touch bridge.
And that would be
And that would be then, oh, we know that there were 7 people, there's a cost for that, But, for a senior center that has, like Newburyport, that has a lot of walk-in guests. Their doors open, people come in for a variety of reasons, just to sit and read. And they're not stopped, exactly. And I don't know exactly how they do handle that. I don't know that they do have the kiosk. I should look into that. You were mentioning Amesbury. You might use that. They have a lot of walk-in traffic on a daily basis. They have other programs. They have the Adult Day Hub program. If Newburyport has a meal site, residents can go for a meal, which increases the numbers of people who visit every day. At the moment, as you know, we don't have call for that.
How do you think we could encourage the 3 areas to just intertwine and to do activities together? What is the answer to that?
The different, what are the three areas?
Plum Island, Old Town, and Brightville.
That would be the question.
Because until we have some idea that this is going to happen, then we don't need a senior center. One room will be fine.
I mean, I think we are, we're limited to what we have, and I think most seniors know that. We are not in a position at the moment to really hold classes. We did last year. We had yoga class.
But how many attended?
The numbers weren't high. I don't know if I did. You had some personal experience.
They were high in
open
the
space.
beginning, and then for different reasons, they fell off. People couldn't drive anymore, or medical reasons, and it dwindled down to, I think I was sitting there alone one day.
And where was that? Was that
Right here,
at the
we
library?
had,
No, it was in the senior center, which is,
it was chair yoga.
it is awkward space too, and we get back to the privacy issue. I mean, if the class itself doesn't have privacy, and, staff on the phone don't have privacy. And then we have a door that we have to open if someone comes to the door for a reason other than the class. It's
I went over to the Tai Chi Tuesday just to be nosy and see if I could try it, and it's not there. They're not having it at all.
not there. They've had to move off-site. There
Because
are
of too
some
many?
air quality issues.
And the librarian said someone complained about mold, and they've had it tested and there's no mold. So I said, well, where is it? Is it anywhere else? And she would know.
They're having it in Haverhill. There's, I think the two teachers who've been doing the class also teach at a studio in Haverhill.
And so our elders could go there,
They can go there.
For
I
free?
think for the,
just like they would have been able to at the library.
I think that they pay a
Do
fee.
you know?
I think they pay.
Because it was advertised in the newsletter that it was free at the library. I just was curious what happened to that.
It used to be, and there was a yoga class also a number of years ago that were held at the senior center, and then the Council on Aging had use of a classroom that then needed to be repurposed for students. So the yoga class moved to one of the housing communities, one of the senior housing communities, to the community room, and the Tai Chi class moved to the library. I don't know if anything stopped at Fireman's Memorial Hall in between, but they needed to be off-site because the senior center no longer had access to designated space. Last year was the first time since those classes had left the senior center that we had tried something again in the senior center itself. It is awkward. My colleague said if she typed really quietly, it wasn't intrusive to the yoga class.
I can
Well, I
see
think we have
doesn't
the
work.
egg chicken thing. I mean, we don't have people coming because we don't have stuff, and we don't have stuff because we don't have the space. It's like, which is it? Egg chicken.
I agree.
Who comes first, egg or chicken?
I agree.
But the stuff has been offered over the past years.
And we haven't gotten people to respond.
I think
Stinks.
with the changing face of senior community, and it certainly has. New 60-year-olds, and we've talked about this before. Many people are still working to 70 and beyond, even part-time. We have a number of people who have care of grandchildren, even part-time. At least one of our new property tax volunteers does. More than one day a week. So that's certainly changing, I think, what seniors are looking for from a senior center. That was a conversation 3 or 4 years ago about senior centers becoming more outreach-based. And the number of calls, and this is something that falls in line with looking at data, looking at what are people using a senior center for. Questions for information on the phone or in person, questions ultimately that might lead to referrals to elder services at the Merrimack Valley or other agencies. That has increased, as our outreach case manager is busier and busier going out into the community.
So we do serve a purpose.
Absolutely.
Yes, as far as
Absolutely.
putting people in the right direction
Which I think has tremendous value.
and checking on those that probably do need some
Right.
additional help.
Which is why having friendly visitors that the outreach case manager can't necessarily get out every week to this group of people that's becoming a little larger all the time. Having a friendly visitor who over visiting for X number of visits might say something is changing with this person. A council on aging can be helpful in perhaps getting more services for a person who would like to remain in the community, remain in their home, if possible. That's the ideal. Just for recreational purposes, and I'd have to get the numbers again, from the luncheon last Wednesday, the number of people who'd signed up was about double that it was from 2017, which is tremendous.
Was it advertised more or any scenes? I was really surprised.
It was
I
surprising.
thought there was less talk about it this year than in past years, but maybe just
But it was definitely
Getting more
double the people.
When I walked in and I saw the group sitting over there, I thought maybe, somebody else is having an event here.
Right.
And then when I heard that it was both sides
Right.
were for the,
Right,
Blueberry.
Blueberry. And people we were unfamiliar with before, people who, there were 4 or 5 people who have not participated in other things. Before.
Right, the faces
And one couple called this morning or over the weekend just to say they'd had such a nice time. And we were fairly
It's really
unfamiliar
nice.
with them. How did they find out? You should ask, how did you find out about us, short of being in the newsletter. Although the Newburyport Daily News did put a piece of Newbury activities, Newbury Senior Center activities in the
But
paper.
it was really nice to
But
see
most of the
so
people
many.
had signed up already by the time that piece came out, which was a week or so before the event. It was nice. Yeah, it was nice.
It was
I was
nice.
very upset I missed it. I ended up, my aunt had to go be moved from one nursing home to another.
Oh,
My
God.
cousin asked me if I would help, and I just blanked out.
Sure. So
I got up, I got into bed that night, and I'm like, oh my God.
Life gets incredibly busy.
Oh my
And
God.
we had several
I
people
wanted to
who.
go see that, though. I really wanted to go over and see the center.
Right, and you can always do that. Sometime when we're going up for some reason. You should check it out. I think that's another nice piece. While it's somewhat confusing for folks in Newbury, the Newbury Council on Aging having an event at the Newburyport Council on Aging Senior Center space. It's nice, I think, for people from Newbury to see. And a couple of people did mention that people I had no contact with before, that they had never been there. I haven't met them, so I don't know that they've been here either, but they were impressed by the size of the place, by the different areas in Newburyport. Again, I agree with Sandy, I agree with Evan. It is a chicken and egg. I know that my predecessors, I know of at least 2 directors before me who have struggled with getting folks consistently.
Right. I was wondering, about the possibility of trying like 3 events next year. And one at Quaker Hill, or Road Bridge, either one at Peter Hall, and one here. And trying just to invite, like to invite different people from Newbury, just to kind of, and vice versa for the other areas, just to kind of get people used to doing that sort of thing. I don't know what the events would be that we would hold there, but what do you think about that idea?
To see if people would make the effort from
Right.
Byfield to travel to Vermont.
And even, say you even had like 2 people from Byfield go to Plum Island for an event. If they have a good time, they're gonna go back and talk to others and say that it was fun, you should have gone, or it was interesting, depending on what the topic is or what we actually do.
It's
worth a try.
Yes, definitely. We just have to figure out what events that would draw people.
Could we have a speaker or, you know,
Yeah,
that
could be
somebody
anything,
like
and
that?
I know Elder Services is they have an author coming out to do a presentation
That
to bring in
sounds
a lot of folks from around the community. I know that there's been some local authors that have done presentations at Peter Hall that
Right.
draw a pretty decent sized crowd.
That sounds like a great idea.
I know a couple of people were talking about a nutritionist, knowing what to prepare for a meal, how easy it is when you're a single person just to grab a jar of peanut butter and a loaf of bread. I was thinking that might be something. I don't know for sure. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. That's
And
perfect.
just to tell them how, what they can do to prepare a meal for themselves without a lot of effort or, maybe with effort, I don't know. I'm just,
And that might be appealing to, as I said, we're looking at a new group of folks coming into the senior arena. I know historically there have been issues getting people to come for speakers. But it's fresh again. We haven't tried doing topics like estate planning or anything like that in a couple of years anyway. So something like that may be more appealing.
so where would you go for put that avenue, like a nutritionist with somebody from the NJs or?
I'm sure we can find.
We may have to pay a
speaker.
fee.
There may be a fee, and that's something that we could ask and involve the Friends group, the Friends of the Newbury Council on Aging, to see if they are interested in that.
I don't know if any of you saw this in the paper. There was a column and it was written about exercise. And exercise is one of the best things to hold off dementia. And I never really knew that. And I spoke to the woman that I go to an exercise program, and she said, oh, definitely. That's,
Or maybe somebody just to talk about
Yes,
dementia,
and
because I
just-
think that's a fear
right.
we all have, no
And-
matter what age.
Right.
Probably doesn't have to be a big exercise thing, maybe even something people can do at home, but maybe have somebody come on that.
So we can certainly seek out a speaker on keeping the brain active, and
Yeah.
exercise is part of that. Crossword puzzles, word games, things that keep the
Yes.
vascular system
My
moving.
financial advisor had a speaker on that exact same thing. And I'll try to get the name of it. I unfortunately don't remember her name, but she's a brain
Which is
surgery.
correct.
And she was talking about, no matter how much you exercise, that is going to help your brain. You need to do it all the time. Then, but I'll try to find.
That'd be
out
good,
there
because maybe
and
there's
see
a
if she could
program,
come.
yeah, and people could even do it at home.
And,
Yeah,
it
it's-
maybe to just have the speaker talk about the different ways to ward off dementia and say exercises. Maybe that, we could segue into that at another meeting to
Right.
come up with a,
Nutritionist.
well,
Yeah.
no, to come up with an exercise person.
Okay.
In other words, that
Sure.
initial dementia person may just need to talk about the other things. Because there's more than one thing to ward off dementia.
Yeah,
Right.
And you could segue into the other areas.
but from what I've been looking into it further, from what I understand, that basically probably the top thing
Right, yeah.
on that. and
Sure.
Come up with some
And it is a
programs.
pertinent topic, as you pointed out, you know, really more midlife and younger to start thinking about, you know, adopting an active plan of exercise.
Because more people, young people, seem to be
Right.
dementia at young ages, so.
That is true. That is true. Or, you know,
Maybe.
adult children looking at their parents and things that they might be able to help, you know, with the focus on aging in place, staying in your home environment as long as you possibly can. Forever would be ideal. No, I think it's a great idea to offer some programs again, and perhaps in different places. That is a good idea.
And plus some from,
Right, we do have more people coming consistently, 3 or 4, from Byfield coming to Newbury every month for the luncheon, the
Oh,
monthly
that's
luncheon,
good.
which didn't happen last year. So,
Are we picking them up?
yes,
That's great.
so we're utilizing the van more. Council on Aging has definitely increased its van use.
when you review the applications for the property tax write-off, maybe questioning or looking for people that have had experience with organizing programs. What do you call them? Social directors or
Right, activities, yeah.
activity director. Because some people have to, I know people have
I've
worked
just been
with-
thinking about that recently, yeah, what the Council on Aging could utilize in a volunteer, because we do have more, and other town departments just don't have as great need as regularly, you know, or it may be seasonal, as you know. So what else, and you know, things like managing a program would be terrific.
How are your rooms in the buildings that you take care of? Is there a good size room?
Well, at Capitol Hill, that's a good size one. I would recommend
To
having
hold
it
the
there.
event.
Yeah. Well, depending on what it is, but I
Yeah.
think there's good space. And we can always move furniture around to if we needed to.
Okay. And I have not been in Pitta Hall, but I know that would be
That's
reasonable to have
Yeah.
a speaker come.
What do they pay? Is it fee? Like, maybe being in town oriented thing?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
That's a
Well, there wouldn't
possibility.
be a fee at Quaker.
And then, as I was saying, the Friends of the Newbury Council on Aging might like to, you know, be involved on some level if this would be valuable to seniors. If there were a fee for a speaker, or, you know, we could
You could always have handouts, maybe get, like if, say the talk is nutrition, maybe there's some organization we can get information from, sample diets, I don't know, or maybe the nutritionist would bring them, or the dementia person would bring them.
I'll try to get a dementia person. She might have some to recommend for a nutritionist.
Yeah, there's lots of resources
I
out
was
there.
gonna say there were resources.
Really something that
Yep.
we,
There's lots of resources
Yeah,
to look
other
at for
services has
speakers
loads
and
of speakers,
presenters, so.
yeah.
I don't mean to be short, but anything else on the agenda?
I don't think I have anything else. Volunteers I wanted to mention, and utilizing some of the property tax volunteers for things we haven't anticipated or really contemplated, like activities, perhaps having a volunteer help manage and organize the property tax volunteer program. So,
I have
just wanna put that out
one other question. At the meeting we went to, it was, we've never included in our service the handicapped or disabled with that of their age, if they were younger than 62. And it seems the other councils do offer that.
We don't get a lot of call from, I shouldn't say, we don't. The percentage is low of people who call who are under 60.
I think that's because I've been I've always told people, no, our council on aging does not offer that, because that's what I've been told over the years.
Right. We do give, the same information and referral advice. But there are other agencies, so when someone under the age of 60 does call with questions, we'll certainly give them, Janet, we'll speak with them, we'll talk with them, Gail also, housing or transportation or, whatever the topic might be, depending on how involved the topic is. I'm thinking of someone we called recently who didn't happen to be a Newbury resident, who was well under 60. And I gave them information for other agencies who receive funding for that age bracket. I mean, that's part of our, we aren't funded to, obviously the milk of human kindness requires, some compassion, and we certainly do give information. This is where you might best be served for your age, and for the issues that we are seeking some answers to. But I'm trying to think, we don't get a lot of call from folks under 60.
So our next meeting will be January 21st, 2019.
And is that, like the posting and the minutes, is that something, since you have a full plate, that you could pass on to Gail? I don't know how full her plate is to help you.
I don't know. I haven't really contemplated that. Yeah. We can definitely take a look at that. Delegate.
We'll make a motion that we bring the meeting to a close at 1:57.
Second that.
All in favor?